Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay Adler, and this is a photo deconstruction. In a photo deconstruction, I select one of my photographs, and I show you the pieces that went into the making of that image. Now today, I have a very rich toned, classic beauty image for you, with a little bit of creativity. So let's take a look at what I came up with. Now, in this photograph, I wanted to play with the reflections, and I also wanted to have really beautiful porcelain skin, but it's actually very simply done. Now, of course, in shooting a photograph like this, it's working with the right team. So working with the right hair, makeup, and of course, model. So I wanted somebody that had both soft and strong features and a little bit of a different look. So this model was perfect for this concept. Let me show you how the lighting and the set was done. Popping over to the behind the scenes, I have the model leaning on a piece of mirrored plexiglass. So it's not actually a mirror, so I don't have to worry if it falls, it's not going to break. And then I have it on top of two sawhorses so that it is a nice stable surface underneath her. When I'm shooting this whole scene, one of the things that's important to note is my lens choice. Now, typically with a beauty image, I select somewhere around maybe 70 to 200, closer to 100 or 200 millimeters. But I wanted to be able to incorporate the reflection in the image. And going with a long focal length, it wouldn't let me do that. So I selected, in this case, a Canon 5D Mark IV, and I selected a 24 to 105 millimeter lens. And the reason that I liked this is that zoom lens would allow me to change my perspective and change my crop and my focal length to get just the right proportions between the subject and her reflection. So I ended up choosing a focal length around 78 millimeters. And then you'll also see that I'm shooting at f14. I usually shoot at f11. I probably just, close down a little bit in that shot, but those are close to my pretty typical camera settings. Now, this photograph was actually lit with only two strobes, and both of them are Profoto D1s and D2s. And let's take a look at the main light. The main light I have here is a beauty dish with a grid and diffusion. So basically what that means is the beauty dish is this beautiful, soft, and flattering light, but it has a little bit more contrast to it. I added the grid because when you are gelling a background, which is what I did in this case, I was lighting the background. Without a grid, the light spreads everywhere and it washes out the background. So the grid focused the light in, let less light hit that background. And then the diffusion, the sock, that material you see in the front, it's similar to what's in the front of a softbox, and it just softens out the quality of light a little bit. So I get a light that's soft with a little bit of contrast, and it's a little bit more focused. So that's my main light. Now, often with a beauty shot, I add some sort of fill, a fill umbrella or another beauty dish or a reflector. But in this case, I kind of have a built-in reflector because that plexi mirror underneath her is actually going to bounce some of that light. So when you look in the final photograph, you'll see a catch light in the top of her eye and another one in the bottom. Well, it's not a second light source. It's that light bouncing up from the mirror. Okay, so the second strobe in this shot is the background light. And this is a bare bulb with a red gel. So it's just the light, no modifiers, with a red gel pointed at a gray background. So the background's not actually red, it's a fashion gray, and I'm able to get a beautiful, rich red tone by lighting it. And so one more time, just to label, that's the plexiglass with the mirrored surface. All right, so let's go back over and look at the final photo. So as I said, you can see the catch light in the top of her eye and then another catch light in the bottom. And I've got this beautiful burgundy tone in the background. When I'm shooting a beauty image, a lot of times the balance is figuring out the purpose of that photo. Do I want the subject to look porcelain and perfect? Do I want more natural, believable skin textures? This depends on the purpose of the photo, but it also depends on your style. So let me show you what it looked like out of camera. Now, out of camera, her skin was a lot warmer in tone. The yellows and the oranges in her skin are more apparent. But when I was looking at this shot, for my style, I like when I have either really dark skin or really light skin. And also, I like when colors pop. And I think the yellow-orange in the skin kind of muddies the graphic nature of it. I want it to be bright red and then light white. So this is the straight out of camera raw shot. What I did is I'm shooting tethered to Lightroom, and I went to hue saturation luminance. This is a very powerful tool. And I went into the reds, and or to the oranges and yellows specifically. So her skin tones were you can see, orange and yellow. I went into those colors and I desaturated them so the skin will be less saturated. And then I brightened them up so the skin would be lighter. So just doing that, you can see the drastic difference that it makes in her skin tone. So this is a little bit more what fits with my style. Your style, you might go with a totally different post process. There's a million directions to take it. I think of the raw file as the starting point, and then there's a million different branches, different directions you could take it based on your visual aesthetic. So I've got my straight out of camera shot, my post-processed image, and then lastly, I take it over into Photoshop. So let me show you the difference. Now this is an image where there's actually quite a bit of Photoshop. It's not that it transforms her, but I decided for this shot I wanted porcelain skin. If it's a skin shot, like where it's a close-up and it's about foundation, I would do a lot less. I would make sure it showed some of that skin texture, but I wanted her to look kind of porcelain doll in this. So I lightened up the skin, smoothed things out, and then I made the red a little bit more of a burgundy. I went to hue saturation and I just darkened it down a little bit so the tones were very luscious and very rich. So starting with straight out of camera to the final shot, it's not that it's a drastic transformation, but it's a lot of little things that add up. So in this beauty image, it's actually really simple. It's just two lights. It's one light lighting the subject, another light coloring the background. The little bit more creative part is the mirrored plexi so that I could create a symmetrical image playing off of her reflections. Now, the part where you decide how it works for you is in that post-processing. Do you go more natural? Do you go more bold colors? Do you go black and white? Do you go a heavy skin retouch? And so this is something that as you develop your style, you figure out which direction of post-processing is going to fit you best. I'm Lindsay Adler, and I really hope you've enjoyed this photo deconstruction. If you'd like to see more, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.